Hi, everyone. Here we are. I am so excited that you're here today, just making sure everything's working. I am recording this session so that you can come back and watch it again, or for those of you who have missed it can check it out. So go ahead and put in the chat box your name, where you're from, and what the weather is like where you're at, because weather is such a huge story right now across the US. And I know a lot of my friends have no power, and we're dealing with a lot of weather-related issues here in the US. And my heart is going out to everyone. But tell me what it's like where you're at. And I can see all your comments coming in. That's great. I'm in Colorado, in Denver. It's sunny here. We had about 3 or 4 inches of snow last night. And I have to admit, I was a little nervous last night because I knew we were having snow. And my son got his driver's license last week. And so he drove to school today in the snow. It's his first time really driving in snow alone. So I was a little freaked out by the weather today, but he made it. He's fine. My heart rate has come down quite a bit knowing that he got to school okay. Wow, it looks like a lot of you have snow where you're at too, especially my Canadian friends. Wow, lots of snow. So, but it's warm inside my house, and I'm excited to get started here with today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. So as you know, I like to, if you've been on my previous webinars, I like to share my screen because I put together a presentation. It keeps me on track. I make sure I get all the points in and I'm organized. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and you should still be able to see me once I do that. Wow, look at all these weather things. All right, so I won't be able to see your comments while I'm sharing my screen, but afterwards I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at actually questions. So put any questions you have in the question box. I see someone put a comment in the question box. But use the question box for questions and the comment box for chatting with each other and sharing where you're from and the weather and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Oh, let's go into here. Got to move some things around. Okay, now I'm in the full screen. You should be able to see that, and you should be able to see my screen, no problem. I don't know, I can see myself. I'm going to minimize myself so I don't have to look at myself while I present. Today's webinar is called Money Matters: How to Score Deals, Save Money, and Eat Well on the Gluten-Free Diet. And this is a topic near and dear to my heart because we all are on budgets. We all are trying to find ways to save money and still eat well and stick to our diets. So I'm really excited to share my tips with you. And let's see, there we go. So I haven't even introduced myself. My name is Jenny Levine Finke. I'm a certified integrative nutrition coach. I'm also the blogger at Good For You Gluten Free. A lot of you follow my blog, my newsletter, or my Instagram. So I might have connected with you. And if I'm not, let's get connected. I also wrote a book that came out last year in 2020 called Dear Gluten, It's Not Me, It's You. And I'll be showing you a little bit more about it. But it's a breakup story with gluten, and it's how I healed my body and how I healed emotionally as well from breaking up with gluten. And if you don't know, I have celiac disease too. I was diagnosed almost 9 years ago. So I not only have studied gluten disorders in earnest, but I live and breathe them like most of you as well. So I hope that you know that I get you, because I am doing the same things as you. I'm struggling through it as well. I also want to thank Crunchmaster crackers. And if you've been on my previous webinars, you know that they have been sponsoring all my webinars. Crunchmaster makes a certified gluten-free cracker that is so good. I made the mistake of opening a box this morning and I've been snacking on it. It's so addicting, and you can get them at different grocery stores. And one thing I want to emphasize is that, gosh, okay, we have a sponsor for our webinar, but I want you to recognize that this is a company that is supporting the gluten-free community. This is a company that cares about the celiac community. And Crunchmaster is not only sponsoring these webinars to help you live your best gluten-free life, but they're also sponsoring things like the Celiac Disease Foundation and Beyond Celiac and different organizations within our community. So let's show our support for those who support us, okay? And that goes for all your local businesses that support the gluten-free community and other brands as well. But thank you so much, Crunchmaster. All right, so here's what we're going to cover today. And I'm going to try to go through it quickly. I will then stop for questions as I noted here on this agenda, but we're going to talk about why gluten-free costs more. I've got 12 tips. I had to narrow it down to 12, so I could have kept you here much longer, but I've got so many tips to saving money because it is something I strive to do every day. I have a free gift for everyone. I've got some fun giveaways. If you've been on these calls enough, you know I always have some fun giveaways. And then if you're able to stay on and want to ask questions or listen to me answer questions, you can ask me anything about the gluten-free lifestyle and I'll try to answer as best as I can. So that is our agenda today. All right, so let's just talk about why gluten-free foods cost more. This is not a big revelation. We all know it. We feel it in our wallets. In 2008, a study came out and it said that gluten-free foods cost 242% more than regular foods. But another study came out 10 years later and it said now it's only 159% more. So it's still quite a bit more, but we're seeing that with the popularity and more commonplace of gluten-free diets, we're seeing those prices come down a little bit, still quite a bit more, and it is going to vary by product. So here I've showed you, I just went to my local King Soopers, which is the Kroger brand we have here in Denver. And I found this Krusteaz mix, and you can see a pretty big price difference between the gluten-free version and the regular version. It's more than $1, but it's also less. So you're seeing that the gluten-free version is more money for less ounces. And we're seeing that across the board in many gluten-free products. Not seeing it as heavy here in these mixes, but we're seeing it huge with the flour and the bread and these more hard to make products, I guess you can say. So here the King Arthur all-purpose wheat flour is $5.50 for a 5-pound bag. That comes to about 6.8 cents per ounce. But when you look at the King Arthur gluten-free measured for measure, which is sort of an all-purpose flour as well, you're paying $12 for 3-pound bag, 2 pounds less, and that's coming to 25 cents per ounce. So 25 versus 6 cents per ounce is a huge, huge difference. And we're seeing these kind of products, flour, and then also the bread you see is more than double, and you're getting less bread when you're comparing, different white breads with one another. And then this was an interesting stat that I found. The American Medical Association said that families that deal with food allergies, and I'm putting gluten-free people in there. I know these aren't food allergies per se. Celiac disease is not a food allergy. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about it at the end. But I'm putting us in that category because we are in the same special food diet. We're spending an additional $4,100 per person each year. So it's quite a bit of money. And I'm going to show you how to maybe shave that number down a little bit. And I'm also going to show you how to get maybe a tax deduction on that too. So that's just a teaser for something we're going to talk about in a bit. So why do gluten-free foods cost so much more? Great question, right? I've kind of narrowed it down to 4 reasons. So first, less demand. I mean, we're smaller. We're small and mighty, right, as gluten-free folk, but we are not mainstream, and companies can't make products to scale and in bulk that might bring those costs down to us. We're just a smaller market. That's why it could cost more. There's also a lot of complex production requirements involved. A lot of these companies are using dedicated gluten-free facilities or equipment. We're finding that they, have to take different precautionary measures to ensure a product stays gluten-free throughout the process. A lot of companies have to test the raw ingredients that come in and then their final products as well for gluten. And then there is a cost to labeling. To become certified gluten-free, you're working through with a third party, and those third parties cost additional money, and a lot of that is being passed on to us as the consumer. Okay, so The third reason is that there's just a higher cost of raw ingredients. These ingredients must meet these strict gluten-free requirements, and alternative grains cost more. I once heard Karen from Holly Daly, she's the owner of Holly Daly Brewing Company, a gluten-free beer company here in Colorado. And she was talking about how she has to get, buckwheat and sorghum and all these alternative grains to brew her beer. And not only that, she had to invest in creating new brewing equipment because the current brewing equipment was made to the size of handling, barley grains and not handling a buckwheat grain in the brewing process. And so we're paying more for gluten-free beer because of that. And then finally, we're also seeing a shorter shelf life in two different ways. The shorter shelf life in two different ways is affecting the cost. So the gluten-free bread, for example, must be stored in the fridge or the freezer. And if you've ever worked in consumer products, you know that you're paying for shelf space, and fridge and freezer space cost a lot more to display your products to the public. And then there's also higher waste. Products can go rancid quicker, turn quicker. And so there's a lot of costs to keeping gluten-free foods fresh and safe for us to eat. And those are passed on to us as well. And then we're also seeing restaurants are charging more for smaller portions. Again, I think you guys are all shaking your head like, oh yeah, talking to, preaching to the choir here. But I just picked 3 restaurants that I've been to recently that I noticed had upcharges. So the PF Chang's charges $1 more for the same dish. And actually I've noticed my dish is always like smaller and less food than everyone else around the table. Noodles and Company, it's a fast casual restaurant here in Colorado, might have it in other cities as well. The only 2 foods, can you see this? The only 2 foods that they have an upcharge for are the zucchini noodles and the gluten-free pipette shell noodles, but no other noodle. You can substitute any other noodle, even their cauliflower rigatoni, which is not gluten-free. You can substitute any of those and not pay an upcharge. Ugh. And then I just had lunch at the Mellow Mushroom, which is a pizza restaurant. Don't normally eat pizza out, but this one actually was really, they have great safe practices in place, but their tiny little gluten-free pizza was $15.25. And it was tiny, and you can get a lot more pizza for the money when you order regular pizza. And so I just looked at the small, like you can only get the gluten-free pizza in small. So I tried to compare it to another small 10-inch pizza, and it was $2 more. And yeah, well, that's just what it is, right? Most of us are kind of happy. At least we can go to these restaurants and eat. But at the same time, it's like, oh, who wants to pay more for less food? That's not fair. And we're seeing, again, ingredients are costing more, training staff takes time and money. There's often extra prep time in preparing a gluten-free meal because they have to change gloves, wash hands. There may be extra tools involved, like a dedicated toaster or a dedicated fryer that they have to keep on hand for cooking gluten-free foods. And also because they can. I mean, it's sort of just the thing that you can charge more for this special treatment. And that's just the way it is in restaurants. So let's spend the bulk of our time together, though, talking about how to spend less and how to save money and still eat well and still stick to that gluten-free diet, because it is so important for your health to eat gluten-free, and you want to be able to eat well as well. Okay. And so I love this quote from Benjamin Franklin: beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. So, count those pennies. Some of these tips that I might be giving you may just save you a few dollars here and there, but you and I both know that a few dollars always adds up to big savings over a year. So my number 1 tip is to eat at home. And I know you're like, oh gosh, Jenny, that is so obvious. Come on. But I don't think many of us really know the stats behind this. So I looked up the stats, how much more you're spending on a restaurant meal. Sorry, I just hit my nail and I've got a hangnail. Ow. Okay, so a restaurant meal is 325% more expensive than a meal you would prepare yourself. Whoa. So talk about really saving money by eating at home as much as possible. And you're going to spend about $4 a person per meal at home. And it's $13 per person a meal at a restaurant. And that's not including tip tax and even gluten-free upcharges. And so you could really save a lot of money by preparing a wonderful meal at home for you and your family. And we all know in the gluten-free community that there are so many benefits to eating at home. You get to control the ingredients. You're going to have a low gluten risk. You know, a lot of us get accidentally glutened when we eat out. That's the biggest potential place for cross-contamination and getting glutened. You'll consume fewer calories, you'll eat less saturated fat and sodium, and there's been all these studies. I found numerous studies that showed these kind of things. And so this is really where you're going to save money, and you're also going to consume less, less yucky stuff. So eat at home. And this was another tip, and I thought this was kind of goes with eating at home, but some of you have asked me, even in preparation for this webinar, I got a few questions in advance, and someone said, is it cheaper for me to make my own gluten-free flour blend, or is it cheaper for me to make or buy a store-bought? So should I make my own flour blend, or should I buy a store-bought gluten-free flour blend? And so I wasn't really sure how to answer this question, but I had noticed an article from my friend Pete. He runs a blog called No Gluten, No Problem, and he is a cookbook author as well. He's fantastic. And so he did a little article on it. It was a little outdated, but I thought it was interesting to see what he did. And so he looked at several items. I picked 3 of them here: flour blends, sandwich bread, and chocolate chip cookies. And he said, is it cheaper for me to make my own, or is it better for me to buy it at the store? So flour blends, you can see right there that making his own gluten-free flour blend really wasn't much of a cost savings when compared to Bob's Red Mill all-purpose flour. He found it to be a very marginal savings. There are certain gluten-free flour blends that cost more. So I think some of them are more specialty brands and they do cost more money. Bob's Red Mill, I think, has a great price on gluten-free flour blends. It's the actual blend that I use for most of my recipes, although I do try other flours as well. And so you're not going to really save a lot of money if you make your own gluten-free flour blend. Plus, I feel like when you make your own flour blend, you make a huge big batch of it and you have to use it up, and it's going to potentially spoil. So, there's not a huge cost savings necessarily, at least in this study that I'm sharing with you on making your own flour blend. But that changes with sandwich bread and chocolate chip cookies, because Pete's research showed that making your own sandwich bread is actually a lot cheaper than buying store-bought bread. And with chocolate chip cookies, he said he spent $6.39 to make a batch of 36 chocolate chip cookies. And when he went to buy an equivalent 36 cookies at the store, he ended up spending $16. So that's a huge difference. So I say, if you can make your own sandwich bread, great. If you definitely make your own cookies, that's fun. Put them in the freezer and store them and enjoy them. You'll save quite a bit of money making homemade versions versus buying store-bought versions of these products. All right, my 3rd tip is to have a plan. He who fails to plan is planning to fail. And I know we are so busy and it's hard sometimes to sit down and be like, what am I going to eat for the week? But the more you can plan your meals, the better. And so before I'm about to go to the grocery store and I'm planning my meals for the week, I always ask my family, what do you guys want? Is there any requests? And it's always fun to hear what my kids, my husband, what they want. And sometimes I'm making the same meal a few weeks in a row because they really love it. But it is really nice to have a plan and know what you're going to make for the week. And a lot of you know that I also create meal plans that I share to inspire you. So you're always eating new things. So this is, I think this is this week's meal plan, or maybe last week's, I can't remember, but this is what my meal plan looks like, and I share this with everyone. These are the foods that I'm making or I have made and I'm putting together in these meal plans for you, including snacks and breakfast. So having a plan is really helpful. And then you can see I also give you a grocery list and recipes. So you can make your own, you can use my service, but these are really great ways to save money and plan your meals for the week. And along the line of planning, it's also nice to use the same ingredients multiple ways. You can buy a big slab of salmon, for example, and grill it or bake it one night. And then the next night make salmon cakes, or I call them, we have these things called salmon quinoa burgers. The recipe is on my blog, but I make quinoa and salmon. I put a little flour, seasoning, and an egg in it. And then I fry them up like little burgers. And my kids love it. They don't necessarily love leftover salmon, but they love when I put the salmon in salmon cakes. And so that's 2 meals ready to go using the same ingredient that I could buy in bulk. And so really look at ways you can use the same ingredients throughout the week to create different meals. Don't let anything go to waste. And always plan leftovers for lunch. This is a great tip for a lot of you who work in offices, which I know we're not necessarily right now in COVID, but I know when I used to work in an office, I was always going out to lunch, and I was always spending, $20 sometimes on lunch to go out with my coworkers. But now what I do is I just make a little extra food for dinner and I eat it the next day for lunch. Pretty much all my lunches are planned leftovers. I'd say the vast majority of them. And so I'm not tempted to quickly go buy something or anything like that. I have it all ready for me to eat, and saving money. So this is an interesting tip that seems, again, obvious. So many people are not doing it. And those are to use grocery apps. And so I asked just a little survey of my friends, do you use grocery store apps on your phone? And I got a big 0. None of my friends are using grocery apps. I couldn't believe it because they're just leaving money on the table. And they, in these grocery store apps, you can find great coupons. So you can see here in the green, this is the Sprouts app. We needed to buy cereal, and I saw that this was save $5 when you buy 2 of these cereals, and they were $3.99 each. So it's like such a great deal. So of course I clipped that digital coupon, and you can redeem it in the store. And then here on Safeway, I logged in just to take a screenshot to share with you on the Safeway app, because I used that one. And here it just popped up $5 off your purchase of 50 or more just for using the app. You can see it expired last week, because I was putting this together last week, but wow, they're just giving me $5 because I'm using the app. So these apps are great. And then also signing up for the newsletter, which you sort of automatically do when you register for the apps. I just got this yesterday, I think, in email, because you can see it's good right now. This $5 when you spend 30 off Sprouts. So sign up for these newsletters, sign up for these apps. There is money on the table that you are just wasting if you're not doing it. And I could not believe that none of my friends were using grocery apps. Okay, so I think a lot of us think coupons and even rebates might be a dying breed, especially because the newspaper circulars are, most of us don't subscribe to a newspaper anymore, and the circulars are tiny. And if you've ever opened up that Sunday newspaper and you see those coupons, they're usually for things like Pringles and Chips Ahoy cookies and gluten-y stuff that you can't eat, and a lot of junk food. And so I pretty much gave up. I don't even look at those circulars anymore, but I found that there are tons of printable coupons online. You just have to know where to look. And so a lot of these printable coupons are on the brand's website. So if there's a certain specialty brand that you use often, check their website, sign up for their newsletter, and just take a quick peek at those newsletters. They're often offering coupons. I know Crunchmaster sent a newsletter out yesterday and it had a coupon in it. And I'm going to give you a Crunchmaster coupon at the end of this call as well. So these are great ways to get those printable coupons to save $1 or $2 off some of the brands that are more expensive because they are gluten-free specialty brands. And so when we hang up, I'm going to email you. So make sure you check your email. I'm going to email you a list of coupons that I found that are good right now for things like Crunchmaster, Canyon Bakehouse, and Joy Life, some of those brands that I know you use and love or are willing to try, and even a really great coupon for a brand of chips that are like Pringles, but they're gluten-free. They're not Pringles. All right, so you'll watch for that in the mail, but you can also look at this site called lozo.com, Lozo.com. I think I'm saying that right. This is a coupon aggregate site. They're monitoring 400 different sites, coupon sites, apps, and brand websites for coupons. And so when you search on Lozo or you browse categories on Lozo, it's not going to actually give you a printable coupon from Lozo. It's going to direct you to the place where that coupon is available. And you can even enter your preferences or grocery lists, and they'll email you a custom email each week with those coupons. So I actually put in the brands that I use, and then I get a custom email from them every week. So they'll tell me, oh, Bob's Red Mill has a coupon this week. So I'm always on top of those good coupons for the brands that I am using. And there's other coupon sites I've listed, but I think Lozo pretty much aggregates from all of them. So that's the one I think you need. And then also attend festivals and gluten-free expos. And again, with COVID, it's a little more challenging, but the Nourished Festival in a normal year would be going to, I think, 8 different cities across the US with these great expos. And if you can drive to one, or if you live within driving distance, a few hours from one of these festivals, go, because these companies are sampling and they're giving stacks of coupons away. And so if there's a brand you love, you go visit their booth, grab a few coupons, you're in good shape for a while. Just to let you know, Nourished Festival has gone online this year and last year due to COVID. And the next one is March 20th and 21st. It's absolutely free. And a lot of the brands are offering printable coupons or digital coupons, like coupon codes off their website. And I'm also speaking there, by the way. Just realized that I'm speaking on March 20th. I'm going to be speaking about the perils of cross-contamination. So I hope you can join me. So go register for the Nourish Festival. It's free, and you'll get coupons and you'll get good deals. And then along the lines of coupons, there's this great rebate app called Ibotta, I-B-O-T-T-A. And you can download it on your phone. And then before you go grocery shopping, you check that grocery app. So I'm going into Safeway or Sprouts. I'm going to check the app, see if there's any coupons or products I want. Like I almost always find a coupon for almond milk or something like that I know I'm going to buy anyway. And then I also check Ibotta, because here on Ibotta, look, Enjoy Life mini chips. So if you're buying that, you just clip this, add this plus sign, and then you scan your receipt. You can also link your loyalty card to Ibotta, which is cool. But if you don't have the loyalty card app, if you don't have the app to link, you can just scan your receipt. You take a picture of your receipt. It'll quickly scan your receipt and it'll say, I see you bought Enjoy Life chips. You get 75 cents back. And that adds up. Last year, I think I cashed out about $200 on Ibotta, which is awesome. And so I'm going to send you, when we hang up, I'll send you the link to join Ibotta, so you don't have to remember all that. But Ibotta is a great app too, to just get money back on the things you're buying. I always see gluten-free brands in there. And this is just a screenshot of what I see in Ibotta. It says Sprouts. So I just actually, when you're in the Ibotta app, you pick the grocery store you're at. So I picked Sprouts, I was at Sprouts. And then in that section, you pick the products you bought. So you can see lots of gluten-free brands we're displaying that day. All right, another tip is about produce. And I think produce and fresh produce can be expensive. And I think a lot of us feel like we want to buy organic because we are healing our bodies and we don't want to assault it with all sorts of chemicals. But I want to tell you, you only need to buy certain things organic, in my opinion, I should say. Organic foods do cost 24 cents more. 24 cents more for an apple than it is for an organic apple than a conventional apple. So I want you to check this cool resource. It's called, it's from the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. You may have heard of them. They come up with this list every year called the Dirty Dozen. And those are the produce for that year that tested for the most pesticide residue. Okay, so if you know that this fruit is going to likely have a ton of pesticide residue on it, that's one you probably want to buy organic and spend a little extra money on it. But if you don't see that on the Dirty Dozen list, then you can probably buy conventionally grown fruit. So number one on the Dirty Dozen list for 2020, I don't think 2021 has come out yet, but the number one pesticide-laden produce was strawberries. So whenever possible, I'll buy strawberries organic. The Environmental Working Group also puts out a list called the Clean 15. And those are the 15 most clean fruits and vegetables that have the least pesticide residue. So avocados were number one, or sweet corn's number two. So I'm not going to spend the extra 24 cents to get an organic avocado. I'm just going to get a conventionally grown avocado and save some money. Okay. So the Environmental Working Group is a great resource, and I'll send you that link in the email as well, so you can check it out. And then always buy that in-season produce. There's so many good reasons and nutrition language of why you should buy in season and eat in sync with the world, I guess. But it's always going to be the cheapest, because when a fruit is in season, the grocery store is going to have so much of that fruit, and they're going to want to sell it to you before it goes bad. So get those. And if you want to freeze them or whatever you want to do, but buy that in-season produce. It's always going to be the cheapest. And here in winter, like winter citrus is really a huge fruit right now. Unfortunately, winter's not a great time for a lot of fruits. You know, obviously the summer is the great time to get peaches and cherries and all those things. But those are, you know, when peaches are in season, get peaches, because it's going to be the cheapest and most delicious peach you're going to have. All right, my 8th tip is buying mainstream versus specialty brands. And I was a little hesitant to put this in. Hold on one second. I had to get a drink. I was a little hesitant to put this in because, you know, specialty brands are so important to our community, and I do want you to support those specialty brands, but there's certain things that you should know. They cost more. And so I put here Annie's mac and cheese versus Kraft mac and cheese. Now, Annie's started as a specialty brand. Right now, they're actually owned by General Mills. You may not know that, so they're not so much of a specialty brand anymore. They do have a big backing, but you can see that even for the gluten-free mac and cheese, it costs more money to buy Annie's mac and cheese than it does to buy Kraft. And there's many reasons for that. I'm not going to get into it, but you can also just see for, you know, gluten-free mac and cheese by Kraft is $2.49, and it's $2.99 for the Annie's. So it's 50 cents more for the same amount. So sometimes buying those mainstream brands makes sense, and reserve buying specialty brands for brands that you really do want to support or love. You might like the taste of Annie's better, and then you want to get Annie's, of course. But if you're looking to save money, you'll want to get Kraft. And then number 9 is about eating and shopping frugally. And so, you know, I for a long time, I don't know why I was so hesitant to shop at Walmart, for example, because I was like, oh, they don't have any gluten-free. They don't care about me. But then a few years ago, I went into Walmart, and my Walmart here near my house has a huge aisle of gluten-free foods. It was shocking to see that. And then last year, I got a press release from the company that the Great Value brand, that's the Walmart private label brand, they just certified 4 of their products as certified gluten-free. So even their low-cost generic Great Value brand has a line of gluten-free products, certified gluten-free products within it. And you can Google that and look up those. But then, you know, other places where I think people save money, and I hear a ton about, is like Aldi and Trader Joe's. I think Costco has great prices on gluten-free finds as well, if you're willing to buy a little bit in bulk. And then, you know, scan those aisles at Marshall's and Home Goods and TJ Maxx. I found Goody Girl cookies there the other day. So it's always exciting when you find a gluten-free brand that you enjoy at these discounted stores. Meat is very expensive. Eat less of it. Fill up your plate with more beans and noodles and things like that. And eating less meat will save you a ton of money. I think as Americans, we think meat is healthy, but it's not always the healthiest food to eat. And, you know, kind of employ this philosophy of meat on the side. I'm going to eat a little meat. It's not going to be the centerpiece of my dish. I'm going to have a little less meat. You're going to save a ton of money, a ton of calories. Use pantry staples, you know, rice and potatoes and things like that are always cheap. Beans are cheap, cheaper than meat. And shop the lost leaders. When you look at those weekly circulars, that's where you're going to find those lost leaders right on the cover of those circulars, where they're advertising deep discounts like 99 cents a pound for steak or something crazy like that. Those are the ones you want to shop for, because they're giving you a deep discount just to get you in the store. That's why it's called a lost leader. They're not going to make any money on that steak. They might even lose money on that steak. But they're getting you in the store and you're spending money. So that's how they're getting you in. It's a cost, a marketing cost to them. All right, number 10 is to limit waste. And this is something I have to work on myself because sometimes I buy things and I don't eat them in time. So I have some tips for you. One is gluten-free flours. We already know, I told you how expensive gluten-free flours can be. So you do not want to waste these babies. You want to make sure you're using them and storing them properly. Always store gluten-free flours in sealed bags or containers. Refrigerate high protein flours like almond flour and quinoa flour. Refrigerate, even freeze those flours. It'll preserve them. I think almond flour could last up to 6 months, maybe a little longer in your fridge. But most of all, use them. If you open a bag of almond flour that you spent, $12 on this little bag of almond flour, use it up, make some baked goods with it and freeze them, freeze those pancakes or whatever it is. Just use it up. Don't let those things go to waste. And that's something I'm working on myself. Produce, don't wash things like strawberries before you're about, only before you're about to eat them because they'll get all mealy and yucky. This was a great tip. It actually works. Wrap the stems of your bananas in plastic wrap. It'll help make them last longer. And when you see those bananas turning, freeze them for smoothies or make banana bread, right? Who doesn't love banana bread? So make sure you're using up that stuff and wasting less. And it may mean you have to go to the grocery store a couple of times a week, which I know is hard during COVID, but it might, you're not going to feel like you're buying all this fruit and vegetable at the start of the week and then it's bad by the end of the week because you couldn't eat it up in time. So you're only buying what you need if you go a couple of times a week. Store gluten-free bread in your freezer. And then I actually have my story. So last week I bought more gluten-free bread and then my husband came home and he's going through the freezer. I don't know about you guys, but our freezer is like packed, of course we're all storing food with COVID. And he's like, you already have 2 loaves of bread in here. Like, I cannot believe you bought a 3rd loaf. I'm like, oh gosh, I should have checked before I went. So we pulled those 2 old breads that I had in the freezer that I forgot about in our garage freezer. And I put them on a baking tray and I turned them into breadcrumbs because I didn't have any breadcrumbs and I needed breadcrumbs. And so I staled them in my oven. I baked them in the oven till they're brown, put them in my food processor. I have a huge bag of breadcrumbs now, fresh breadcrumbs, but breadcrumbs are expensive. And so I didn't want that bread to go to waste. Don't overpack your fridge because then the cold air can't circulate. You might notice it freezes. Things like zucchinis and spinach might freeze and wilt when the temperatures in the fridge rise. So you have old stuff or things you're not going to eat or old condiments that you haven't used in forever, get rid of them and really allow that air to circulate through your fridge. And then of course, if you've got some limp celery and carrots and stuff, use it to make a soup or broth because you want them limp in the soup or broth. Okay, so just limit your waste. That's where we waste so much, is letting food go bad. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. Tip 11 is that you may not have realized that gluten-free food could be tax deductible as a medical expense. You must have celiac disease. Unfortunately, gluten sensitivity is not recognized quite yet, but hopefully we change that, because if you are gluten sensitive or intolerant, it's very serious and you have to eat a certain way to feel well. But right now, from what I understand from taxes, that you have to have a doctor's note confirming celiac. But just talk to your accountant because you may be able to get a doctor's note confirming a gluten intolerance as well. I don't know. You have to use save all your receipts, which I do. I use an app called Expensify. I just download the app. I think it's free, or maybe I paid a couple dollars to get it. But you just take a picture of your receipt and it saves it, and then I don't have to worry about it at the end of the year. I don't have to worry about saving physical paper copies of receipts. But what you need to know is that the tax deductible part is the cost between what the regular wheat gluten item would have cost and what your gluten-free alternative costs. So if the gluten-free bread is $6 and a regular bread equivalent is $2, you can deduct $4. Okay, so here's the deal. You don't want tax advice from me. I can barely add. So make sure you consult your tax attorney or tax accountant, whatever it is, if this is something that you might be willing to track through the year and you feel like you are spending a lot of money, this can be particularly helpful if there's multiple people in your house with celiac or multiple people on special diets. This might actually be huge savings for you. Remember, it was like $4,100 for a food allergy person per year that they spend more money per year. So you might be able to deduct a lot of money if a family of 4 is all dealing with a gluten sensitivity or celiac or whatever it is. So talk to your accountant, talk to your doctor, get all that information, okay? And then my last and final tip is to evaluate all costs. And this is sort of something that I don't take lightly saying this to you, but, just have some perspective, because you're eating in a way that is good for you right now and healthy and deterring disease. And so you can spend money right now on buying gluten-free food that makes you feel good and keeps your body healthy, or you can spend it on feeding disease and medical expenses. And sometimes I like to say pay now or pay later. So I'm sort of feeling like I'm paying a little more money up front to eat in a way that is good for me, so that maybe later I don't have to pay with chronic illnesses and doctor's visits and pills and all that kind of stuff that comes with being sick, okay? So just have a little perspective and realize that if you are eating healthy and eating gluten-free and you're really nourishing your body in the right way, you're going to be spending less on pills and procedures and doctor's visits and all of that stuff now and in the future. Okay, so that is all the tips that I'm going to share today, because I didn't want to keep you here hostage for too long. But I did want to tell you I have 3 winners who are each going to receive a $50 Crunchmaster prize package. I'm going to have Crunchmaster ship it right to your home, so you don't have to go to the store. So Crunchmaster's coming your way. I'm going to send you a copy of my book, Dear Gluten, It's Not Me, It's You. So you can get a free copy of my book. It's going to come from me. So you can get 2 different packages coming to your house. And then I'm also going to give the winner a quarterly subscription to my meal plans by Good For You Gluten Free. So you can start meal planning and getting some new recipe inspiration, okay? And so right before we hopped on this call, I picked some winners. See, you can see this little thing. I took a screenshot of it. It's called the Wheel of Names. You can Google it. It's kind of cool. I put all your names in there. And these are the 3 winners, Karen, Marcella, and Lorraine. And I am going to email you and coordinate getting your addresses, okay? So congratulations. And I'm going to email all of you after we get off this call with your Crunchmaster coupon and that list of coupons that I created for all of you. So you're going to get all of that. And then I'm also going to have a little survey in there. So please just take a survey and let me know what you thought of today. It always helps me shape these for the future. And then, of course, connect with me. If you're not on my newsletter, you're not following me on Instagram, come find me. I love connecting with all of you. Drop me a note. Feedback is always welcome. And then watch your email, because I'm going to do another webinar. We're looking at May right now, okay? So we're going to take a couple of months off. I've got a presentation with the Nourish Festival next month. And then we'll be back in May to do another fun webinar and connect, okay? All right, so let me stop share. Here we go. And now I am back on the screen, and I wanted to see if you had any questions or you wanted to chat further. I hope that you found those tips helpful, and that you are, ready to save some money, and that you got a few tips out of that that'll help you save money, whether it's downloading a grocery app or, just spending less on certain fruits and vegetables that are organic and not organic, things like that. So, all right. So if you have a question, go into the Q&A section. I'm going to go in there. I only see a couple questions in here. So if you have questions and anything, gluten-free, nutrition, all that stuff, you're welcome to ask me. And I see all these great feedback coming in. Thank you so much. We appreciate all that feedback. So Tara asks, a recipe calls for condensed milk. Coconut version is too expensive. Could I just use regular coconut milk in this quiche? Oh gosh, well, I wish I could answer that question. But as you know, we have to experiment in the gluten-free community. So when I want to make a substitute, sometimes I'll Google it. So I'll be like, can I use, coconut milk for condensed milk, or maybe there's something that you need to add to make it thicker or something like that, or maybe you need to take a little less flour out. So you're going to either have to experiment, Google it. I can't answer them, so sorry. Nora said, what are the best national grocery stores for gluten-free items, and are there any great online options? Which is cheaper? So it's crazy. I have noticed that so many grocery stores are just adding more and more gluten-free products. And so, like I said, Walmart has so many great gluten-free products and always the low prices. That's what they market themselves on. And I think Aldi and Trader Joe's, if you like their food, those are always much cheaper. Like their bread mixes and things like that are just they're really inexpensive. A lot of people also like online Thrive Market. And sorry, there's someone out my window here. Thrive Market is like, I like to think of it almost like a Costco online, where you join as a member, but then you get discounts on gluten-free foods and they ship it to your house. So Thrive Market is a great option, especially if you don't live near a grocery store that might have a lot of gluten-free food. Having Thrive Market ship it to your house would be great. Amazon Fresh has a ton of stuff as well. So Amazon Fresh has good prices as well. So I don't know if I know which one is cheaper or it's pretty negligible, but those are options for you to look at online. Okay. So Sally said, sometimes gluten-free breads say do not freeze. Do you freeze it anyway? Well, I'm not sure which bread. I know like something like Canyon Bakehouse, they make breads that are meant to be stored in the freezer, but then they also have their Stay Fresh bread. Once I open that Stay Fresh bread, I usually store it in my fridge for a few days. And if I don't finish it, I'm going to put it in my freezer. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the answer. And you may want to do some more research on the specific brand or ask that company why they said that. That might help you. Patrice said, are there any gluten-free plant enzymes and probiotics you would recommend? I have chronic IBS and many food intolerances. I feel like you're pain. I think most probiotics and enzymes are plant-based, or just look for the vegetarian label on them. So I am not brand loyal in terms of probiotics. I actually think with probiotics, this is another tip. I should have put it in. Buy whatever's on sale when it comes to probiotics, because you want to take a probiotic every day. You want to take a nice good dosage, 30 billion CFUs or higher. Talk to your doctor. But when you switch brands, you're going to introduce new bacteria, new strains of bacteria into your gut. So every brand formulates their probiotics differently. So switch brands, buy whatever's on sale, and just keep taking that probiotic every day and switch it up. Buy what's on sale. It's great. Enzymes, I think you might be talking about digestive enzymes. I just wrote an article on digestive enzymes that I posted. So if you go to goodforyouGlutenFree.com, it's going to be, I think, the first or second article you see. There are enzymes out there that can help people who are gluten sensitive, not celiac necessarily, but gluten sensitive, digest gluten. It is not recommended that you take this supplement and then eat a loaf of bread, right? It's more to be used by our community in times of potential cross-contamination exposure. So I'm going to go to P.F. Chang's. I'm going to take all the precautions to order a gluten-free meal, but I still might take a digestive enzyme just in case, to help me break down gluten and maybe not feel as sick. They work for some people they don't. Gluten Digest is one that I actually just bought some Gluten Digest. I'm like, I think I need to try these. I haven't really used digestive enzymes. I would only use it when I go out to eat, which I haven't done in a long time. So I have it, I'm ready. But the issue is with that is you don't want to just keep taking digestive enzymes, because you want to naturally make those enzymes. Your body actually naturally makes things like amylase, which is a digestive enzyme that your saliva produces, and then your small intestine lining produces things like protease. And you're producing these digestive enzymes. Your body knows what to do. There is a whole chemical process of breaking down food. You know, mechanical processes, you're chewing and blending and things like that. And then there's actually this chemical process in your saliva and in the lining of your digestive system. And so don't take digestive enzymes continuously. You know, you don't want to train your body to think it doesn't need to make them anymore. I hope that helps. That was a really long answer. Okay, so Laurel said, how do I see your food plan subscription prices? So you just go to goodforyouglutenfree.com/meal-plans, or just click on the meal plan tab, and I'll also include information. Wait till you get my email, because I'm going to give you guys a coupon code in the email. Okay, so wait till you get my email and then use that coupon code if you want to sign up for a meal plan subscription. Even said, can you have your next webinar on a Wednesday? I don't work on Wednesdays. Yeah, I can. I probably can. We'll see if we can shake it up, okay? That's good feedback. And in the survey, when you guys fill out the survey, if you have thoughts like that, like, hey, can you do these webinars at night or different days of the week? I'm listening. All right, Amber said, I just started to take Just Thrive probiotic that was recommended by another celiac. Do you have any experience with this company? Or do you take probiotics in general? I keep hearing about leaky gut. Yes, I take probiotics every single day. I take a 50 billion CFU probiotic every single day, and it has done amazing things for my gut health. I rarely feel bloated and gassy and all of those fun things I used to have even after going gluten-free for many years. So probiotic can definitely help you, and something you want to continuously take. And if you suspect you have leaky gut, you definitely want to address that. Okay, so that's a whole conversation. I actually talk a lot about it on my blog and in my book. And I think we talked a lot about leaky gut in a prior webinar as well. So definitely take that serious and work towards healing your gut. I don't know Just Thrive specifically. I might have bought it. Whatever, I buy whatever's on sale and is gluten-free at the grocery store. That's true, and I switch often. All right, Janet said, where can I get coupons for gluten-free products in Canada? That is such a great question. That I don't know if I can answer that, because in my searches it's coming up US. But check lozo.com and see if they are honoring coupons in Canada as well. And then I remember going on the Bob's Red, and they had Canadian. I said, check if you're Canadian or US. So they had specific coupons. Okay, so check Lozo. That's a good one. And even check if Ibotta. I don't know if they do, if Ibotta does gluten-free rebates in Canada as well. But you're going to have to do a little more research. I'm so sorry. I'm here in the US, so I don't know what the other places are offering. And then, yes, any good ideas for stores and coupons for Canadians? So that I don't know. And if somebody can ask that or answer that in the comments, if you're from Canada and you have some good tips, go ahead and share that. So otherwise, I think we have gone through all of these questions. Great questions, guys. Well, I'm looking here at the comments now, and I see some great tips. I love that you guys are sharing some information. I don't know everything, and so it's really nice that we can share information and really help each other save money. And yeah, so I'm just looking at that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for attending today. And I will, watch for the email from me, and we'll hopefully see you next month or at the Nourish Festival webinar, or a couple months. We'll do another webinar together as a community. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Really. Thank you.